Hi there. Thanks so much for joining me. My name is Heather Romano. I'm the Managing Director of HR and Training here at iVet360. As recruiting is one of the hottest topics and, frankly, one of the biggest pain points in the industry right now, my team wanted to take a few moments to share our top tips for finding new team members in this challenging environment. Right now, the veterinary field is in what is one of the biggest hiring crises in recent memory. Hospitals are struggling to find good candidates for all positions, but especially experienced technicians and associate veterinarians. In fact, the AVMA reported that between January of 2019 and May of 2021, there were 18 positions open for every veterinarian seeking a job and 6 positions available for every technician or assistant. As burnout and other factors continue to drive away team members, it seems like this problem may become worse before we find relief. Another factor making it really difficult to find quality candidates is the prolific recruiting savvy of the large corporate veterinary practices. They have funding that allows for prominent recruiters to reach out to passive candidates and offer signing bonuses that most privately owned hospitals cannot compete with. Pair that with the excellent benefits that corporate hospitals typically can offer, and it can seem as though private hospitals are at a severe disadvantage. However, we here at iVet360 believe that there are many things that private hospitals can do to not just compete with corporate hospitals, but to outperform them in the recruiting arena. There are massive benefits for employees who choose to work for privately owned practices instead of corporate hospitals. A few tweaks to your recruiting and team policies can make a world of difference in drawing candidates to your hospital. While the number of things you can do is really limitless, here are 5 surefire ways that the iVet360 HR and training team recommends to increase candidates and the quality of candidates that apply for your positions. So we'll start with posting the right ads. The days of 2-sentence job ads are over. Candidates don't care what you want in an applicant. They know what qualifications are needed for a veterinary technician. Instead, they want to know why your hospital is different and why they should choose your position over the corporate role down the street. Your ad should exude personality and reflect your hospital's culture. Talk about the fun things that there are to do nearby, or the fabulous team events that people participate in at your practice, and any charitable events that would be a part of the candidate's life. If you need some inspiration, you can check out iVet360's job ad creator on our website, iVet360.com. Our next tip is to make interviews count. A job interview should be less about talking skills and more about studying the person that is in front of you. Your questions should focus on what the individual will bring to the hospital's culture. We recommend dedicating a small segment of the interview questions to skills and abilities. A paid working interview will help you to determine the actual skill level because who among us hasn't hired a technician who said they were excellent but turned out to be afraid of animals? The majority of the interview should be a situational and behavioral questions interview that will help you best understand how the candidate will react to typical scenarios in daily practice life. Remember, however, that your questions also reflect your hospital. So candidates will hear you ask questions about how do you respond when a doctor snaps at you, and they will know exactly what kind of culture they'd be getting into. Next, you're going to want to fire the experience snob. Talent can be found in the most unlikely of places. One of the best hires that I personally ever made at a hospital was an inexperienced ex-convict for a veterinary receptionist. This person had turned her life around completely and was one of the most loyal team members that every client adored. The lesson here is that experience and background aren't necessarily the best indicator of a great employee. Some of the most experienced technicians can be some of the worst additions to culture. Look at the human being in front of you, and don't be afraid to take a chance on the charismatic barista or the passionate retail associate that wants to work for you. The time that you take to train them may pay very high dividends in performance and loyalty. Next, invest in the team. No video about recruiting would be complete without talking about wages and benefits. While millennial employees are known to want to seek out roles they are passionate about, at the end of the day, they still have families to support, bills and student loans to pay. Every candidate that you offer a job to is going to strongly consider what you are considering in wages and benefits. Make sure that you are paying your team the most that you reasonably can. We suggest that hospitals review their team's salaries and adjust or increase, even if it affects your profitability in the short term. Losing team members affects your profitability much, much more, and affecting client retention and patient care is another huge downside to losing team members. Your team is worth the best wages and benefits that you can afford to give them. If you can't afford to increase wages, then pack on the benefits. These tend to be substantially cheaper than wages, usually. This can include paying 100% of your team's health insurance costs, increasing their paid time off, and so much more. Don't be afraid to get a little creative when it comes to improving benefits. And then lastly, focus on why your practice is better than corporate medicine. Some candidates really don't realize the downsides of working for a corporate hospital. After all, a $20,000 signing bonuses would be awfully tempting to a veterinary technician who has felt underpaid and underappreciated. This can overshadow what we know to be true about many corporate hospitals. They often overwork their team members and focus more on revenue than on patient care and team happiness. Don't be afraid to say things like, you didn't get into veterinary medicine to sell wellness plans. You became a technician or veterinarian to practice medicine and make a difference. At Awesome Animal Hospital, we want you to practice the medicine you went to school for while having a voice in how we care for our patients, clients, and team. Remember that your hospital is fantastic because it isn't corporate. So don't hesitate to make that crystal clear to any potential candidates. Despite a challenging hiring market, we have found that hospitals that emphasize team happiness have seen no decrease in the quality or number of candidates applying for roles. Our best advice is to show your candidates why their days at your hospital will be the most rewarding and focus heavily on your culture. Pair that ethos with fair and competitive wages or benefits, and you are sure to